Hi guys, welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to be doing an emergency price update on ICP. We're going to be looking at the overall market, going to be doing a bull market sort of health check, if you want to call it that. I'm going to be talking to you about a huge warning sign as well, which I'll be talking about at the end of the video, so make sure you watch to the end. So all that and more in this video. Before we get in, if you don't mind, hit that subscribe button and click that notification bell. It really does help me. It takes 2 seconds out of your day, and you can always unsubscribe at a later date if you so wish to. So let's dive into it. So the last sort of 72 hours has been a significant dump. There is a lot of fear in the markets right now. So I think now would be a good point to zoom out here, look at the weekly time frame, and look at what is actually happening here. So before I get into ICP, it's important for us first to just take a quick look at Bitcoin and the overall market. And what we see here on the overall market is we see an uptrend. We're making consistently higher highs and higher lows, signifying an uptrend and a bull market. Bitcoin is above the weekly EMA band and has been since 2023. So the bull market is still intact. Now, there are a couple of warning signs here. We are overextended from our EMA band, which is currently falling at around 79 to 74K. So a pullback will come at some point to here, but in the immediate short term, I think the worst of this is behind us, this dump, and that's just going on my shorter term analysis, which we'll get into in a moment. But on the weekly time frame, things are looking good for Bitcoin. If we look at the Russell 2000, which is a US stock index, the Russell has now pulled back to its EMA band. And if you can see, this is closely correlated to Bitcoin, right? So you can see I've overlaid Bitcoin here. Bitcoin is in red. The Russell is in just the normal charts. Generally, they sort of follow each other, right? And right now, the Russell has pulled back to its EMA band. And if we look every time for the last year, what happens when the Russell pulls back to the EMA band? It has bounced, right? So it is now at that point right now, and I am hoping for a bounce here. Obviously, your invalidation would be if we start closing weekly candles below this EMA band. That would be quite negative. But for the moment, we're holding it, and we're at the point where we should now see a bounce probably in the next 48 to 72 hours. Right, so if we dive into Bitcoin on the lower time frame, then if we just zoom down to the daily. Okay, so Bitcoin right now is... Let me just get the correct chart up for you here. Yeah, it was this one. So Bitcoin right now is in this support zone. We've seen a strong bullish wick on this daily candle. Now, it is not closed yet. We've still got 9 hours left in this. But all in all, Bitcoin is finding support here at this level where we've seen multiple wicks down, a lot of market structure in this level. We are still held down by a bearish divergence here on the daily time frame, which is still playing out and is still active. All right, so the most likely, most probable outcome you see when you see one of these bearish divergences is some choppy sideways price action or a pullback. So we're now experiencing a pullback. Now, if we go a little bit further down to the 4-hour time frame, right, so you can see right here we have hit this level where we are right now. And if we look down at our RSI here, our RSI has briefly entered oversold territories. Now, in bull markets, this doesn't happen a lot, and it usually marks not exactly the bottom, but close to the bottom. So you can see right now we are oversold. If we take a look at some other times this has happened, we came close to it here in November, marking a bottom. If we scroll back further, in October of this year, we hit oversold territories and it marked a local bottom where we saw a bounce. Go back a little bit further to September this year, we hit oversold territories, which marked a local bottom. In August, hit oversold territories and marked a short-term bottom. So it did bounce, but did not actually hold it. And you get the sort of idea here. I'm not going to bore you with previous examples. You can check this yourself. But for me, with Bitcoin at support, right, you've got a lot of people fearful in the market selling their bags, and you've also got this RSI and oversold territories, which makes me think in the next sort of 48 to 72 hours, Bitcoin is going to get a relief bounce, right? That's what I think is the most probable outcome here. Does that mean we can't go lower first? No, it doesn't. We can go lower first. But what this means is momentum is running. There's less room to the downside than there is to the upside. So I do expect, at the very least, a relief bounce, most likely up to this sort of 100 to 101K level up here. And from today's price to there, that would mark a sort of 5% gain in Bitcoin, which of course I'm sure will drag altcoins up too. So just to summarize Bitcoin then, overall on the higher time frames, it's still bullish, it's still in an uptrend, nothing has really changed there. On the lower time frames, we are now at support with RSI in oversold territories, signifying to me that the most probable outcome in the next sort of 3 days is a relief rally, bouncing back up to the 4-hour EMA band, which is coming in at approximately $100,000 to $101,000. So let's move on to ICP now. So ICP, okay, so on the weekly time frame again, I know I covered this yesterday, so I'm not going to go too much into the weekly time frame. Nothing much has really changed. We're still carrying out this huge breakout of the RSI here. We're above our EMA band, just slightly though, I will say. We're currently retesting our weekly EMA band, which is so far holding as support. So in the immediate short term, there is no, well, in the higher time frames, there's no extreme cause for concern here. But what would concern me if we start seeing candles closing below this EMA band? We don't want to see that. But for the moment, price is above our EMA band. It's above our prior resistance, now support, and the RSI is above the midline, although only by a little bit. If we zoom down then to the daily. So on the daily time frame, right, to be honest with you, this pullback has been a little bit more severe than I initially expected. I was personally expecting ICP to hold the line here at $10 exactly. We've actually just wicked down as low as $8.90, but that has so far been bought back up, if you can see from this long wick here. So where do we go now then? Well, we're currently at support, right? Well, we're slightly just below support. So I'm sure a lot of people have sold their bags here. But again, it's a similar sort of story as what I'm seeing with Bitcoin. If we zoom down to the 4-hour time frame, again, what we see here is we see ICP at support. We see ICP's RSI in oversold territories. And we also see ICP significantly below its EMA band. So I think, given these factors, the RSI being oversold, given the fact that we're at support, given the fact that it's been a 3-day pullback, I think the most probable outcome is a relief rally within the next 48 to 72 hours. And I would expect that to be about 18%. So about 18 to 20%, bumping us back up to $11.57. And again, it's a similar sort of story. If you put the RSI on your chart here, just go back through a few examples. Whenever we hit these oversold territories in bull markets, it usually marks close to the bottom, not exactly the bottom, but it usually marks a local bottom in the near term. So you can see a couple of examples here. And then again, it has confluence the fact that on the daily, we're now significantly below our EMA band. So the EMA band acts like a magnet. If we look on previous examples here, you break down, generally the price returns to that EMA band. And right now we're about 23% away from that EMA band. So with the RSI being oversold, with ICP at support, with a lot of fear in the market, I expect at the very least a relief rally back up to the EMA band, and then we have to reassess from there. So in terms of the invalidation now, I will say we are getting close to this trade being invalidated, and in fact the first stage of invalidation, the point at which you have to exit your trade, has been hit. So this is my capital protection strategy with altcoins is when I see altcoins breaking below the EMA band and rejecting it, that's my signal to get out. So stage one of that, guys, I'm sorry to say, has in fact happened. We have closed below the 2-day EMA band, and now what happens next is going to be very, very critical, right? So if we see price come back up like we did here in April, come back up and reject that, then that's all stages for the invalidation has been met, and I will have no choice but to close my position. So what we want to see here, right, basically ICP needs to very soon, within 7 days, ICP needs to break back above the EMA band at 1150, right? So we need to do a V-shaped recovery here and get back above, because the longer we spend below here, below this EMA band, the higher the probability is that we're going to see further downside. So yeah, just keep an eye on this. What you want to see is ICP just breaking back above 1150 and holding it, right? But if you see ICP come back up here and rejecting it with maybe a wick to the upside, sort of like here, then that's it, get out. But for the moment that hasn't happened, I will be updating you daily if necessary on the price action here on ICP. But for the moment, I expect in the immediate short term, just to summarize here, in the immediate short term, i.e. next 2 to 3 days, I expect a relief rally of about 20% back up to 1150. And then from there, we need to see how the price reacts to this this EMA band. If it breaks above, we're all clear. If it rejects it, then I will be exiting my position. So yeah, that's where we are. Now, before I end the video here, I want to talk to you about one major warning sign that is currently printing. It's not yet confirmed, but it will confirm at the end of the day, and that is the US 10-year. All right. So what we are currently seeing here, if I just zoom out to the weekly time frame, we are currently seeing a breakout of this downsloping trend line. And basically, whenever you see the US 10-year, the bonds breaking out above these trend lines, it usually marks local tops in Bitcoin. So if I just overlay Bitcoin on this chart, and we look at a couple of the examples, you see here on the US 10-year, we broke out in October, marked almost a local top in Bitcoin. We broke out again in August, again marked a top, and Bitcoin went down further. We broke out again here in this third example, and that marked sort of a top for Bitcoin, and we're now doing this again. So this candle is going to confirm in 7 hours from now. So guys, this is a warning sign, right? It's not good to see this. Like, although Bitcoin, the price action looks very bullish, this is one warning sign that we do need to pay attention to. Like, there's not many bearish signals right now in Bitcoin, but this is one that has just started flashing this week. And it's looking like it's going to actually confirm. Now, does this mean sell everything? No, it doesn't. But it is one indicator that I use to sort of give me sort of an advantage over the competition in these markets. And this is something we don't want to see. So things at the moment, there is no immediate cause for concern, but these couple of warning signs would make me more cautious in the market right now. Like, these can be invalidated very easily just by breaking back above our resistance here. But for the moment, it's not all bullish. There are some bearish signs that we need to pay attention to. But of course, I will be keeping you updated every step of the way. So I hope you enjoyed that video today. If you did, please do consider hitting that subscribe button. I'm not joking, you guys. It really, really helps me out. This is a small channel, and I really appreciate any of those engagements you can give me. But I'm going to leave the video there, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Bye-bye.